Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, I'm going to walk you through the 3 things that every financially confident person knows and acts on. Because financial confidence doesn't come from a number in the bank account. It doesn't come from a certain degree or fiscal knowledge level of education. It also doesn't come from like the kind of financial planner you have or how many money people you have managing your money for you. Financial confidence comes from you being a leader of your financial life, a leader of your money. You need to be the CEO of your money. The only job of a CEO and a leader is to make decisions. Decision making is the job. And I see so many people when it comes to wanting to feel better about their money or wanting to get their money shit together or wanting to improve their financial confidence, they go directly to trying to outsource their decision making. That's the first thing that seems to go of like, I need someone to tell me what to do. But decision making is your job if you want to be financially confident. Now, the reason that money anxiety is so prevalent, no matter what income level you're at, no matter how much money you have, no matter what's in the paycheck, it's because you keep outsourcing your decisions. So even if you increase the numbers in your bank account, you're still going to feel money anxiety because you haven't developed the confidence in yourself around your money. You don't feel in control of your money. You've outsourced your decisions and then you wonder why you don't feel confident or secure about what's in the bank account. It's because those decisions didn't come from you. Like big things, like how are you building out your retirement portfolio? But also even the small things of how you spend day to day. What's morally good to do with money? There's a lot of people who will have a lot of feelings about what's good to spend money on and what's not, especially in our world of capitalism. What's ethically okay and what's not. There's going to be opinions about everything from every corner of the internet, of your life, of people. What you invest in, how you navigate taxes, how much you should save, the percentage that you should be spending on your bills and your necessities versus what you should be saving. Again, all of these things, you are the one who needs to be making the decisions around them. So the other thing that I see is that you also might waive your autonomy to even make decisions. So you're not even outsourcing them. You've just decided that you don't have the autonomy to make decisions because the world has already made the decisions for you. Your industry has already made the decisions for you. The financial hand that you were dealt has already been given to you. So thoughts like, I won't be able to make this much because minimum wage hasn't moved in X amount of years. My industry doesn't work like that. It's impossible to be financially secure as a working artist. The world will be in ashes before I get to that point. And there's not truth to some of these, right? We have systemic issues that need to be changed and fought for and rallied against. That's why we do activism. That's why we do mutual aid. That's why we are still involved in electoral politics, right? So there is truth to some of these statements. But what has happened is a lot of you have just thrown up your hands and decided that you don't have autonomy to make decisions until all of these external factors change. So again, this is kind of an outsourcing of decision making because you are still not the one who's in charge. You still feel completely out of control. And when you feel out of control, you don't make money moves that support you. Creatives especially are disempowered in this area because all of the tools and education that we are given, it wasn't made for us. It was made for 9-to-5ers living in the corporate world, right? People with biweekly paychecks, people with type A brains, people who have a lot of time on their hands to manage their money in a traditional way. I talk a lot about how this is different for creatives, but I also want to talk generationally because a lot of the money advice that has been handed down to us was not created for our economic landscape, for our generation and what the landscape of work and the economy and the fiscal landscape even looks like now. So it's like hanging on to this outdated dead thing that doesn't work anymore. Right? Like you can't just cut out your coffee that you get on your way to work and then expect to be able to afford a home. That's not a thing. That doesn't exist. And that one is beating a dead horse. Like, I hope we all know that by this point, right? Like, if you're here listening to this, I'm assuming you know that. But the generational divide here is the money advice that used to be given out doesn't apply for a gig economy, doesn't apply for a world in which inflation is currently at the rate that it is. It doesn't apply when you have a cost of living crisis and a student loan crisis. And so it can feel really frustrating when you're trying to use these old school money management styles and this advice, and you're trying to put it on your life like a millennial or a Gen Z trying to budget their way into wealth. Like, it doesn't work, right? Cutting back into wealth doesn't work. Being diligent enough and heads down in your work enough so that you can move up the ladder to be able to afford the things you want, that doesn't work anymore. So it makes sense that you feel disempowered. It makes sense that you don't feel like a leader with your money because the world and external sources are telling you that you don't have the power to make those decisions. That you as an artist and a creative, you are never good at the math stuff. You're type B. You need to marry someone who knows how to do the money. You need to be with someone who makes a lot of money, right? Like, oh, cute little artist, you just in your artist world, right? That's a lot of the narrative that we're getting. So this is also acknowledging with compassion, like, of course I haven't felt like the CEO of my money because I've been told for so long that I couldn't be, or that there was someone out there who would be better than me at that job. But then your anxiety is telling you a different story. Your lack of financial confidence is screaming at you to take the wheel, take the helm. Now, with being a leader, with being a CEO, you might currently have knowledge gaps. Now, that's fine. You'll just fill them. But your job as a leader is to discover what your knowledge gaps are, acknowledge them, and then decide how you want to fill them. Even as the leader, having the wherewithal to be like, I have knowledge gaps, or I know I have knowledge gaps, but I don't exactly know what they are. How can I go about figuring out what they are? That's a leadership position. That's a CEO of their money. Even if you don't know what the fuck you're about to get into when it comes to money, right? If you're in the place where you're like, I don't even know how a credit card works, that's fine. A leader says, I don't know how a credit card works, and I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to learn how. I'm going to go find a trusted source to figure it out. Welcome to the Cashed Up Creatives online course. We talk all about credit. But this is what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to know all the information to be a leader and to be a CEO. You get to put on that hat and start building that confidence now at whatever level you're at. Also, outsourcing is important, but you have to understand what you're outsourcing. So being a leader doesn't mean you're doing your own taxes. Being a CEO doesn't mean you're your own CFO, right? If you have a multi-million-dollar business, you're probably going to have definitely an accountant, potentially a financial planner. Potentially. I think most people don't need financial planners, but there might come a time where that does support you. But when you're outsourcing to these people, you're outsourcing with confidence and autonomy of, I've made decisions about what I want in an accountant, what I need from an accountant, and I'm going to figure out a way to go through consultation calls and research to be able to find someone who's going to fill those benchmarks that I need filled, right? That's a leader. Someone who's not in financial confidence, someone who hasn't embodied the identity of a financial CEO, that person is going to say, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I need someone to help me. That's a disempowered state of outsourcing. And that's why a lot of people are with accountants that don't support them and that they don't understand what's happening with their taxes. And they get hit with a surprise big tax bill and their tax accountant is like, what, you didn't know? And like, yeah, that's on the accountant. There are so many bad accountants out there, so many bad accountants. But it's also like, but you outsource without any knowledge or any leadership in that outsourcing. The outsourcing came from, please finance daddy, help me, right? And that's not the CEO identity, okay? You're also allowed to ask people's opinion. You're allowed to gather information. You're allowed to go down a TikTok rabbit hole on a certain topic that you want to learn more about. You're allowed to read all the books and listen to all the gurus and enroll in as many coaching programs as you want. You're allowed to do all of that. But do you have a process as the CEO to sift through all of that information, to disseminate what you've consumed? Do you have a filtration process? That's the role of a leader. That's the role of a CEO, to put in place a filtration process so that you can collect all of this information to fill all of your knowledge gaps. But when things contradict each other, how do you decide what you want to believe? So some symptoms of outsourcing your decision making, because you might be in a place right now where you're like, okay, like I don't super feel financially confident, but like I don't feel like I'm asking people what I should do with my money. But here are some sneaky symptoms. If you keep looking up the same information over and over and over again, or you keep coming back to looking up the same information that you looked up a few months ago, and you like are in this cycle of rehashing information, that's a symptom of outsourcing decision making. If you have the answer that you were looking for, but you are not taking action on it, that's a symptom. If you're going to multiple different sources to talk it out, that's a symptom. If you like call your mom and then you call your dad, and then at your like friend group brunch, you like throw it out to them, and then you have your call with your accountant and you throw it out to them, and then like your partner comes home and you talk it out with them, and you're trying to get everyone's opinions, but you aren't coming to a decision. You're just trying to gather everyone else's opinions to tell you what to do. That's a symptom. If you freeze at the thought of making a financial decision without consulting ChatGPT or some sort of AI agent, that's a symptom of outsourcing your decision making. Also, this is a bigger one that I really want you to sit with. If you have never gone against someone's recommendation before, that is a symptom. If you can't think of one instance where you have received an opinion or heard information or got given a recommendation that you went, nope, I actually don't want to do that. Or no, I actually think I believe this. Or no, I'm going to do it this way. I want you to think, do you have instances in your mind that come up when I say that? If no, it's probably because you've outsourced most of your decision making in your financial life. Now again, it makes sense that you have done this because it's all on you, which is the energy of a financial CEO. That's the energy of a leader. It is all on you. There's no one to pass the buck to. That's a big responsibility, right? It's all on you is so freeing, but also that's some weight, right? That's some heft. And so you might rather outsource your financial decisions so that you have someone else to blame for it when it doesn't go how you wanted it to. Or, this is the sneakier one, you do that so that no matter what, you're right. So that if it works out and goes well, you can be like, yep, I made the right decision. We made the right decision. Or if it was the wrong choice, you can say, I had a gut feeling that wasn't going to be right. I had a gut feeling. And because you're able to say, like, I had a gut feeling that was wrong, but I did it anyway, so they were wrong. So I was still right because I had this gut feeling. Because the feeling of being right feels like you have more control. We like to be right, even if it's being right about something you don't want. This is also why a lot of us don't actually allow ourselves to dream big, because we'd rather be right about our limit of achieving what we want to achieve. We're like, oh, we'll never be able to get there. Or like, yeah, this is kind of where we cap out. We'd rather be there because we can control that. We know that we can land below our potential. We can control that. And we'd rather have the feeling of being right because we can control it, rather than doing the messy process of making your own decisions and being the leader and having some bumps and stumbles along the way. But the entire time you are creating a financial reality that you are obsessed with, and it's all coming from you, right? So you have the financial confidence there. So now I want to talk about the actual 3 things that a leader has. So if you are resonating with this episode so far, and you're like, you know what, I have been outsourcing some of my decisions. Here are the 3 things that every financially confident person has and does and acts on. The 3 things that a leader and a financial CEO has are a mission, values, and instincts. So all of us have these buried within us. We might just not have surfaced them or know how to hear them or just know what they are. And then there's also the next layer where even if you've surfaced them and you know them, are you taking action on them? Because financially confident people have them and then act on them. So a mission. What is your mission? What are you building? This is the big why of it all, right? Your big why in the sky. Second thing, what are your values? What do you like? What do you dislike? What are your desires? Just what do you want? And that's like the little stuff, the day-to-day. Like, if you have the big why, what is your preferred route to your big why? Do you like the moseying countryside roads? Do you like the super fast highway route? Do you like the route that takes you through some rivers and towards the ocean and then circles you back up through the mountains so you have a super scenic route before you get to your... There's a lot of different ways to get to the big why. So what's yours? And then the third thing is, what are your instincts? What's your intuition? Do you know how to hear her? Do you know how to tell when something feels good and when something feels bad, when something's a red flag and when something's not? Do you trust yourself enough to trust those instincts and those intuitive hits? Okay, so let me break down each of these a little bit more. Mission. This is why you wake up in the morning. This is what pulls you out of the mundane day-to-day tasks. This is why you choose to do hard things, or why you choose to do the things that feel hard at first just because they're new to you. This is something that I create with all of my one-on-one clients, but I also have a video training inside of the Cashed Up Creatives online course, the video portal. It's about creating your cashed up manifesto. This is about creating a mission statement, your big why, in a couple of sentences. You could even do a picture about it if you're more of a visual person. But every big company has one of these. Everyone has their mission statement. Some are more impactful and actually mean something than others. I've definitely seen some like, oh yeah, you just pulled some buzzwords and threw them together in a mission statement because that will look good to the board members kind of thing. But every good company has a good mission statement, a reason why they are putting in the work, why they are doing what they're doing, why other people are invested in them too. So you need to create your own cashed up manifesto. This is something that when you read it and when you look at it, it brings out that glittery feeling inside of your body of like, yep, that's it. And that's why I'm going to keep getting up. And that's why I'm going to go do this thing. And it kind of makes you want to like move fast, right? And you get excited. That's what that cashed up manifesto should be. Now, your why is going to look different from everyone else's. There's not like a standard why. I think in the financial world, there's a lot of buzzwords now that people have used as their whys, which is like, I want financial freedom. Okay, but do you though? Because financial freedom can look a million different ways, and I need you to get specific. Do you want financial freedom via being able to live off of your investments so you never have to work again because you desire to be a full-time nanny, caretaker, grandmama to your grandbabies who were just born, and you want to just be there through their whole childhood and take them to the pool and never have to work again in your life? Is that the kind of financial freedom that you desire? Or do you desire financial freedom because you actually have a limiting belief that the only way you can only do your art all of the time is if your investments are paying for your lifestyle, because you don't believe that you can create a life that is full of artistry and creativity that also is paying you a living wage and then some, right? So then you might uncover a limiting belief where it's like, oh, I actually don't care about reaching financial freedom in my retirement portfolio. My actual why and desire is that I am living an artistic life day to day, and my bills are always paid and then some. And then what does that mean? And then what does that look like? Like, what is that actual why? Why do you only want to create your art all of the time? What is the why behind your art? Like, then you get into layers. So like, financial freedom doesn't mean anything. What is the thing that actually means something to you? That's the why. So now let's move on to your values. Okay, this is the second thing. Your priorities, your likes, your dislikes. This is the thing that is going to help you make sense of it all with yourself and with others. So you will find that you disagree with some people's decisions on how they utilize their money. You agree with other people. And there are things in your own life where you're like, oh, this feels good when I use money in this way, and this doesn't feel as good when I use my money in this way. So getting clear on your values and your priorities is going to help you make sense of it. The tool that I've created for my private clients is called a values map. Now, this tool is we are getting on paper what are the extremely minute specific things that are valuable to you and that are priorities for you in your life and why. And we're going to get clear on those. And getting clear on the things that you do value in that way doesn't mean you don't value the other things. It just means you value them less than the things that you have decided on, that you've circled. And we can only circle a handful of things. So when you look at that values map, you're going to be able to compare it to yourself via your bank accounts and your credit card statements and also your like Google Calendar. You can look at your values map and see what's happening in your bank accounts and see if they line up. And if they don't, you can be very clear as to why. Instead of just being like, oh, I feel like I'm spending too much money, but like I don't know what to cut back. And I don't want to cut back because then that hinders on my ability to feel freedom with my money. Like there's then stuff that's wrapped up in there and then you go, fuck it, I'm just going to keep spending how I want. But you can use this values map to be like, and how do I calibrate my dollars and my money to stuff that I actually want to see in the bank account without hindering my enjoyment of life, so I make sure I'm not cutting out the things that I actually care about so that I can see what I actually don't care about and then let that stuff fall away. The other thing that this will help you do is that when someone else is having a strong opinion about something you're doing with your money, or they're giving you a recommendation, and this could be a family member, this could be someone you see online, this could be your financial planner or your accountant, and they're telling you a decision, you can look at your value map and be like, oh, their values are here, here, and here. And my values are here, here, and here. So it makes sense that they have this differing opinion because I can see exactly where we're disconnecting. So it's going to help your brain make sense of like why we're disagreeing or why I don't agree with this. You're going to be able to make sure that you even agree with yourself so you're not accidentally creating dissonance with what you value and what your heart wants and what's actually happening in your bank accounts. This is also going to anchor you into being able to say, I want it because I want it. I like it because I like it. It's going to help you release any kind of justification on why you're spending money on certain things. I had a client who had to do a lot of work around releasing guilt for only ever wanting to fly first or business class at the bare minimum premium economy. And she was always, every time she would she like took a lot of trips during our time coaching together. And every time she would book it, she would come to the call and be like, and I'm really proud of myself because I booked this because I want this, this, and this, because I'm going to be refreshed. And like, there was always justification around it. And it's like, you've already decided that that's a value for you. So you don't need to justify it anymore. What we realized was that the justification was coming from a lot of people in her life who did not value that kind of traveling because their values were other places. So it helps you release shame on the things that you enjoy spending money on and the things that you don't care about spending money on. It also helps you release judgment on other people who are spending money on things that you wouldn't spend money on. You're like, oh yeah, just different values. Now, why we like to get things on paper, I'm such a visual person as well. This is why I have my, if you're on YouTube here, you can see me pull this out. I have my Remarkable, and this is where I coach my clients. Like, I will screen share and we will write shit out, and I will map out your entire financial ecosystem. We will work through these values maps, and I'm going to talk about our intuition thermometer in a second. We're going to write these things out so you can see them on paper, because sometimes our brains can get real foggy and sticky, and we need to like take what's inside of our mind space and put it on paper to be able to solve it and see it clearly. That's why you can do 2 + 2 = 4 in your brain, because it's a simple thing. But once you do 2 divided by 7 multiplied by 214 divided by 3 plus 7, that's harder to do in the brain, right? We got to get that on pen and paper. We got to get that out. So this is why we're taking the things that are in your brain and we're putting them onto paper. So when you start to spin out, when your brain starts to get real loud, you can anchor yourself and see what we're actually working with. Now, third thing, instincts and intuition. What feels good? Because there are a million ways to accomplish anything. There's a million ways to get fit. There are people who swear by only doing Pilates, and that's their entire life, and they're incredibly healthy. There are people who swear by their CrossFit gym regimen, and that's the only way to get fit. You will see every kind of fitness and health influencer online to be like, keto is the only way to go. Only ever worry about your blood sugar and nothing else. There are people who are like, I don't even worry about my health. I just walk and get in the sunshine, and they're the healthiest people you ever know. There are so many ways to do everything. There are a million ways to build a successful business. There's a million ways to live a happy life in New York City. Million ways to do everything. So if that is the case, because that is the case, what resonates with you? And do you know how to tell when something feels off or when something feels right? Now, this is a different feeling than feeling activated from a TikTok video or from your dad telling you something. It's about, can you tell the difference between feeling pulled to something because they know better than me versus the thought, this idea excites me and feels good for me? Because those are two different feelings. Now, when I say there's a million ways to do anything, like, there are people in the finance realm who tell you that the only real way to build wealth is real estate investing. And there are people who have made so much money and built so much wealth from investing in real estate. I will never recommend real estate. I will never own real estate for me personally. It doesn't feel good. I disagree with it. I actually think it's an incredibly risky investment and not worth your time. And there's so many better ways to build wealth than investing in real estate. And there are other people who could argue the exact opposite thing. And both types of people can build wealth. So what feels good to you? When it comes to like, there's a million ways to build businesses, there's a million strategies. I keep getting like funnels of people trying to pitch you their like SEO strategy or like podcast editing or like content, lead generation, whatever. And they send you an email like every 3 days being like, popping this to the top of the whatever. I fucking hate those emails. I will never work with someone who puts me in one of those funnels. There's also someone who has started to put unsolicited like workshop invites on my Google Calendar. So now shit is popping up on my Google Calendar, which is my sacred space. It makes me furious. I will never work with anyone who does it, and I will never implement those strategies for myself. And yet, there are people who implement those strategies who have $1 million plus businesses, who are living their best life, who have clients who love them. So it's not that one way is right or wrong. It's if it's right for you, it's right for you. If it's right for me, it's right for me. So you need to have a way to figure out what is that for you? Do you know how to tell when you have a gut feeling, a gut instinct? One of the most clear examples I have of this is back in 2018, I booked a Theater for Young Audiences tour, a TYA tour. I was really excited about it. But then I started to get this gut feeling where I was like, I don't think this is right. I got skeevy feelings about this. And there wasn't anything super loud externally that was giving me that feeling. It was just like a deep, deep gut instinct. And I didn't have anything else on the calendar. I didn't know where I was living after November in Florida. Like, I didn't have any fucking plans. I didn't know what I was doing because I thought I was going on this tour. And I decided to turn the tour down. And I couldn't have known that this was happening. But then literally 3 weeks later, I met my partner at that bar in Florida that I wouldn't have been at if I had gone on this tour. I met him and we've now been together for over 7 years and I'm deeply in love with this man. I also then booked 3 shows back to back at equity houses. That was different than the non-union contract I would have been given at the TYA contract. Like, I couldn't have known that those were coming, but there was a deep gut instinct in me that said, don't go, don't take it, don't do it. And because I know what I'm going to talk about the intuition thermometer in a second, because I was so in tune with what my intuition felt like, and I knew what a yes felt like, and I knew what a no felt like, I was able to trust that and not second guess it. And sometimes you'll trust your instinct and you won't fucking know why. You won't have any idea why you felt you needed to make that decision or not trust that person or pull away or say yes to this thing. You might never have any idea, but it's about trusting those instincts and trusting your feelings and your body. So when it comes to trusting your body and trusting your feelings, the thing that gets in your way then is then the second guessing that happens. So you have an instinctual hit or you have a feeling where you're like, this feels good, but then you start to spin out where you're like, was that the right decision? Did I do something wrong? Did I fuck it up? What did I do? That second guessing needs to get cut off in its track. So this is the next tool that I created for my private clients, which is called the intuition thermometer. And what this is we collect your real life data that thing you can look at that anchors you into what does a yes feel like? What does a no feel like? What are examples of when I've said yes to my intuition? What are examples of when I said no to my intuition? And what did that feel like? What are the physical things? What are the mental things that happen? What do I see? So when you're starting to second guess yourself, or when you are having to make a decision and you're feeling like you can't trust your feelings, you can look at this thing and gauge yourself and see, I land here, this is what I'm feeling. I know that this is my intuition, this isn't anxiety, or this is anxiety, not intuition, or this is what my body's feeling like. So wow, okay, so that is a yes then, and I'm just feeling scared because it's new. So you can have this thing to anchor you so that you can start to learn to trust your instincts, to trust your intuition, to trust your feelings. Now, at some point, all of this will feel so innate in you that you won't need to look at your values map every single time you make a decision. You won't need to look at your intuition thermometer every single time you're feeling a hit of something. But for now, you're gonna have these things to anchor you, to build up that muscle. With my clients, I'm not telling you what decisions to make. My clients will tell you that. Even when they ask me, like, what decision should I make? I'm like, yeah, let's unpack that. Because every time you're asking what decision should I make, you've given away your autonomy. You've given away your financial confidence. My job as a coach is to help create in you the identity of a CEO. To, of course, give you the education and the knowledge, not only of financial foundations and how certain money things work and how to create financial plans, but also when you don't know something, how to go and find it out and feel confident in how you're sourcing your information. Yes, we're doing that. And we are building up with evidence over and over, week after week, for the 3 months that we are together. We are building up that muscle of, I can trust myself. I know my mission. I know my big why in the sky. I know what my values are and what my priorities are. So I'm not shaken when someone else has a different opinion. And I can trust my instinct and my intuition, even if it doesn't make sense. I can trust how I'm feeling. And so I don't spiral and second guess myself, so I can move quicker, so I can hit my goals faster, so I can have all the things that I desire more and more and more. That's what we're doing inside of coaching. Because also, we can make financial plans to get you anywhere you want to go. There is not a single money goal or financial reality that we can't achieve on paper. You can give me any money goal and I'll write it out. I'll be like, here's what you have to do and here's how the things would line up and here's what you do. But at the end of the day, you have to know your GPS location. You have to know your North Star. We can't put in somebody else's house or be looking at the wrong star. We can make the plan to get you there, but then once you get there, it's like, oh, so why am I still anxious or why am I not happy? Well, yeah, because you didn't choose the North Star. You didn't know what the location was. So a lot of what we're doing in coaching is, I know you definitely have goals that you're clear on and the things that you want, and we're going to start working towards those. But a lot of times what happens in the duration of a coaching package is we unearth some secret whys and some secret values that were shoved down by a lot of other people's loud opinions and loud desires and things that you were told that you should want, things that you were told weren't available to you. We start to unearth those to be like, oh, this is actually really exciting. Oh, wait, here's where the motivation actually lies, because now I'm chasing something that I'm actually excited about. And that's then where the coaching piece comes in. This is where on our weekly calls, we are dissecting. Like, I just had a conversation today on a coaching call where we were talking about her business, and she was having some like thoughts about certain students and what they were achieving. And it was like, okay, so like, why does that matter? And then she gave an answer. And I'm like, okay, but then why does that matter? Okay, she gave an answer. Okay, but why do you care about that? And what we got to was there was something in her that she really cared about, but she actually didn't care about it for her students. It was like a her thing. It was a core personal thing for her that didn't apply to the students, but she was making business decisions based off of that. So it actually recalibrated business decisions and unearthed this real desire that was coming up to like shift her business in a different way. So we're excavating, we're unearthing, we're asking the layers of questioning to get to what you actually care about. Because I want you to love what you see in your bank accounts, on your credit card statements, and in your investment portfolio, yes. But I also want you to know that you are the reason that all of those numbers happened. and that all of those numbers reflect things that you actually want, that you actually care about, and that it doesn't feel like a fluke, okay? That you don't feel out of control or scared that you're going to fuck up what you've created because you feel in full autonomy. You feel in full control. You are confident and you are educated and you have embodied the identity of a financial CEO. So here's the thing. If you want to start coaching with me inside of one-on-one money mentorship, you can find the link in the show notes. You can also find it at notstarvingartist.com under the tab one-on-one money mentorship. You're going to learn all the logistics and the pricing of the package. You're going to be able to hear from past clients and hear all of their different kinds of experiences inside of coaching. And then you're also going to have a link to schedule a sales call with me. And that's where we're going to line out what your goals are, what's the roadmap we are going to create for you, and we're going to talk about what we are going to accomplish together in our first 3 months together for you. I want to leave you with a quote that I think sums up what we're talking about in this episode here. It's a quote from Ian Thomas, who's an author and a poet. And every day, the world will drag you by the hand, yelling, this is important, and this is important, and this is important. You need to worry about this, and this, and this. And each day, it is up to you to yank your hand back, put it on your heart, and say, no, this is what's important. All right, everyone, I will talk to you next week.